Hello.
Hi, Landa. How are you?
And how are you?
I'm good, thank you. We are on Roland, page 17. Okay, ready when you are. We'll start off by reading page 17, please. Perfect. Let's go. Page 17, let's read.
Then Greg said no offense, but Roland kind of seemed like a baby. And it's not really believable that at kind
That's not kind.
kid.
Let's start from the top. Please read a little bit louder.
Then Greg said no offense, but Roland kind of seems like a baby. And it's not really believable that a kid his age would sleep in his parents' bed. And that made him feel a little
That
ashamed.
made.
And that made me feel a little ashamed because sometimes I sleep in my parents' bed. Exactly.
That's not exactly. That is not exactly. It's not x. There's no x sound in that word.
I said
There's no x. There's no x in that word.
X.
Please make the sounds one by one.
Is
No, it's not k, it's sh. So what I wanted you to pay attention to on those first three sounds. You are saying x. There's no x. It's e s p. E s p.
Okay.
Esp. Yes?
S. Okay. S. A.
Sh.
Ish. E. Is it I?
The C and the I and the A have a line together. Sh. So what's the full word?
S. S. S.
Yes. And then after S, but there's an E, then there's sh.
S. S. Especially.
Not especially, especially.
Especially.
So let's go again from the top.
And that made him.
From the top.
Oh. Then Greg said no offense, but Roland kind of seems like a baby. And it's not believable that kid his age would.
You're skipping some words. You're swallowing some of your words. I need to hear every single word that you're reading. So loud and clear, please. Let's go from the top.
Then Greg said no offense, but Roland kind of seems like a baby. And it's not really believable that a kid his age would sleep in his parents' bed. And that made him. And
There's no him there.
And that made me feel a little ashamed because sometimes I sleep in my parents' bed. Especially on nights when there's a really bad thunderstorm. Crash. allowed to have hurt feelings about what you say after it.
Right, not bad, but I'm going to take a turn and then I'll give you one more turn and then we can get to the comprehension questions, yes?
Okay.
Okay. Then Greg said, no offense, but Roland kind of seems like a baby. And it's not really believable that a kid his age would sleep in his parents' bed. And that made me feel a little ashamed because sometimes I sleep in my parents' bed, especially on nights when there's a really bad thunderstorm. Crash! Greg taught me a long time ago that if you say no offense, then the other person isn't allowed to have hurt feelings about what you say after it. Your turn.
Then Greg said, no offense, but Roland kind of seems like a baby. And it's not believable that a kid his age would sleep in his parents' bed. And that made him, and that made me feel a little ashamed because sometimes I sleep in my parents' bed. Especially on nights when there's a really bad thunderstorm. Crash! Greg taught me a long time ago that if you say no offense, then the other person isn't allowed to have hurt feelings about what you say after it.
Right. So we go to the questions for page 17. You have 7 questions altogether out of 15 altogether. And let us read question 1. Question 1. Please read question 1.
What did Greg say about the character of Roland?
For how many marks is that?
For 2 marks.
So if it's for 2 marks, how many points are we expecting?
2.
Okay, please find your answer on page 17. What did Greg say about the character of Roland? When you think you have an answer, let me know. Do we think we have an answer yet?
Yes.
Let's hear it. So the question is, for 2 marks, what did Greg say about the character of Roland?
Greg said Roland kind of seemed like a baby. And it's not really believable that a kid
Yes?
his age would sleep in his parents' bed.
That's correct, and it will earn you 2 marks. So let's write it down, please. All right, let's get that question 1 answered, and then you let me know when you're ready for question 2. Yes? Are we done with number 1?
Yes.
Okay, so let's hear it. What did Greg say about the character of Roland for 2 marks?
Greg said Roland kind of seems like a baby, and it's not really believable that a kid his age would sleep in his parents' bed.
Perfect. That will earn you 2 marks. So give yourself a tick for that and 2 marks. And then go ahead and read question 2 for us, please.
Okay. Do you agree with what Greg said? Give a reason for your answer.
So let's hear it. Do you agree? So Greg says, first of all, Roland seems like a baby, and it's not really believable that a kid his age would sleep in his parents' bed. Do you agree with that?
No.
You don't agree with it, but you need to give us a reason.
Because I sleep in my parents' bed.
Oh, do you sleep in your parents' bed too, just like Roland?
Yes.
Okay. So how are you going to structure your answer for us?
No, I do not agree with Greg because I sleep with my parents.
So we can say, because I sleep with my parents too. Yes?
Yes.
So no, I do not agree with Greg because I sleep with my parents too. Okay, let's hear it.
No, I do not agree with Greg because I sleep with my parents too.
Right, so you understand that your first mark would come from you saying no, and even if you'd said yes, you'd get a mark for it, but you just needed to tell us a reason why. So the first mark is for you telling us where you stand, whether it's a yes or no, and the second mark is for you being able to articulate or tell us your reason why you say so. Yes? So you can give yourself a tick and 2 marks for that. And then if you can, please read question 3 for us.
Okay. How did Roland feel about what Greg said and why?
Okay. And for how many marks? You haven't finished reading the question until you've read me the mark allocation.
I also didn't get more.
You didn't write the mark for question 3. Question 3 is out of 2 marks.
Okay. 2 marks. Okay.
So, how did Roland feel about what Greg said and why? Find your answer for us, please.
I am ready.
You're ready. Let's hear it. So, how did Roland feel about what Greg said and why for 2 marks?
Roland felt ashamed because sometimes he sleeps in his parents' bed.
Correct. Let's come back to number 3. Are you done with your answer?
Yes.
Let's hear it. How did Roland feel about what Greg said and why for 2 marks?
Roland felt ashamed because sometimes he sleeps in his parents' bed.
So that's a tick and 2 marks, and then you read us question 4, please.
Okay. When does Roland sleep in his parents' bed?
For how many marks?
For 1 mark.
Please find your answer for us on page 17.
This area. Just this one. The worst one.
The worst.
No.
No. Hands. Head.
Oh, I just need something for the gates. Roland sleeps in parents' bed, especially on night when there's a really bad thunder.
Yes, that sounds right. Did I already give you the definitions for nouns? I did, yes?
Let me just check.
Anything about nouns that you've written at the back of the book yet?
Yes.
Okay, so we have nouns, proper nouns, common nouns, and abstract nouns, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so let's finish page 17. When does Roland sleep in his parents' bed?
Roland sleeps in his parents' bed, especially on nights when there's a really bad
Okay, you can tick that and give yourself 1 mark. And then read question 5, please.
Explain what is happening in the picture.
So how many marks? How many marks was that?
For number 5,
Mm-hmm.
it was 2.
Nope. For number 5. Did you write down the mark allocation?
No.
So go back to your picture and check how many marks.
Check.
So do you see the mark allocation?
Yes.
How many marks is question 5 out of?
4.
Thank you. So if it's for 4 marks, how many different points am I expecting from you?
4.
4.
At least this is fewer than the first question we have done.
You think this is not, because the longest we've done, I think, was out of how many? Had how many questions?
10.
10. Okay. So this is a little bit short. Lucky for you. So let's check out what's happening in that picture for 4 marks.
Okay. Well, first I need to write in the picture.
Okay. First you need to look at the picture on page 17.
So sometimes does the U and the R make a sound?
U and R. You are. I'm gonna need you to say that again. You were frozen for a second. So were you saying sometimes does U and R sound like what together? Sh. Give me an example of a word where you think you are sounds like sh.
Picture.
Picture. Okay. So let's make the sounds in the word picture. So we have p, I, k, t, That's how the sounds would break down. It's not the UR that brings us that T sound. It's the letter T. So it's T, It's more like T, than Ch. Make sense? P, I, k, T, Picture. It's more like picture than picture. Make sense?
Okay. Roland is in his parents' bed.
That will earn you 1 mark. Let's write it down. In the picture, Roland is in his parents' bed. That is only 1 mark and we need 3 more.
Roland is trying to cover himself.
With what?
With the blanket.
Okay. Roland is trying to cover himself with a blanket. That's going to earn you your 2nd mark. We still need to earn mark 3 and mark 4.
Toby,
Yes, girl.
would you like try to when you do comprehension and you're answering the questions, can you use like a word that's not really in the story?
As long as, like what? You can use a word that's not really in the story as long as your answer still answers the question correctly.
Okay.
But if you're analyzing a picture, if I'm specifically asking you to tell me what's happening in the picture, you're not allowed to make up what's happening in the picture. You have to tell me only what you see happening in the picture, not what you think happened. You have to tell me things that I can't argue with. So you can't say, if we're using this picture on page 17, for instance, you can't say there was someone else in the house, because we can't see that. We can only see in the bedroom and that there's only 3 people there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we need to earn point number 3. You've told us that Roland is sleeping in his parents' bed. You've told us he's trying to cover himself with the blanket. What else do you see on the bed? Who else is on the bed?
His parents.
So give me a full statement.
Roland's parents are also in the bed.
Mm-hmm. Roland's, let's write that down. Roland's parents are also in the bed.
Okay.
So, you've said so far, in the picture, Roland is in his parents' bed. Roland's trying to cover himself with a blanket. Roland's parents are also in the bed, and we need to earn your 4th mark. What do you see happening outside the window?
A thunderbolt.
So,
A thunder.
give me a full statement.
I could say that there's a thunderstorm outside, or I could also say that there's a crack noise outside.
You can say there's a thunderstorm. So let's say that. Full answer. Explain what is happening in the picture for 4 marks.
In the picture, Roland is in his parents' bed. Roland is trying to cover himself with a blanket. Roland's parents are also in the bed. There is a thunderstorm outside.
Tick that and give yourself 4 marks. And then read us question number 6, please.
6. What does Greg say is the rule when a person says no offense for 2 marks?
So find your answer for that. What does Greg say is the rule when a person says no offense? So your answer would start with Greg says.
The rule when a person says no offense
Is that Greg says
is
the rule
that the other person isn't allowed to have hurt feelings about what you say after it.
Do you think you have an answer yet?
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Greg says the rule when a person says
When a person says no offense,
no offense, the other
is that
person
is that you didn't say is that. So your sentence needs to make grammatical sense. It needs to be grammatically correct. So the question says, what does Greg say is the rule when a person says no offense? So your answer is going to start with, Greg says the rule when a person says no offense is that, and then you tell us what he says.
is that the person
Look at your story.
The person.
The other person.
The other person isn't allowed to have hurt feelings about what you say after.
After what?
After it.
Right. So it should read, Greg says the rule when a person says no offense is that the other person isn't allowed to have hurt feelings about what you say after it. Do you agree?
Yes. That's in capital letter. Auntie Toby must say after in capital letter.
It doesn't have to be in capital letters.
That.
Okay. And then, I think maybe let's leave it there for today. On Friday, we'll finish question 7.
Okay.
See you the other weekend. Okay.
Okay.
Peace out, girl.